Another episode of the Tool Bags of Sports Podcast, episode 50. Actually, we've reached the half-century mark here. I'm Sebastian Caballero. I got Hector, I got Sheehan, I got Mikey Mike. Not so excited to see Mikey Mike today, but that's okay. That's all right. It's all good. I was prepared for this. I was prepared for this, so it's all good. Hector, you're gonna lead the way. Go ahead, my man.
Yes, sir. Welcome back to the college football segment here at Tool Bags Up Sports. And the reason why Sebastian doesn't really want to see Mikey right now is because of the game of the week, Florida State versus Miami. We won't get into it right now, but we're just gonna quickly recap what's happened since our last episode. First, we've had a couple big games here. First game that we talked about last week was Florida Ole Miss. That was a pretty big game. Florida's offense looked much better than they did in the past, and this could be something new brewing for the University of Florida with that Kyle Pitts and Kyle Trask connection. It seems pretty lethal right now. But I'm pretty sure Mikey looks excited. He looks ready to talk about it. Game of the week last week, College Game Day, was in Miami Gardens, Florida, as the Miami Hurricanes just absolutely manhandled the Florida State Seminoles. Mikey, you're the Miami fan on here. Talk your shit, man. Hey, Miami's 1-0 for another week.
It's still there's not much to say.
Bro, stop smiling so hard, bro. You're gonna pull a muscle on your face, bro. You're gonna pull a muscle on your face.
I've been smiling all week and just waiting for this day to actually look you in the eyes, and can't wait to hear what you have to say about this game. Miami handled their business. It was 52-10. They didn't allow them to even sniff that once, but that doesn't even matter at this point. But FSU looked terrible, and I said it from the beginning of the season. They didn't look like a team that was ready to be playing out there. And Miami took care of business, and they won. This is the first time that Miami has put up. They won by like 40 points in this rivalry. So I think by both teams, if I'm not mistaken. Derek King looks beautiful, and if he's not on top of your Heisman watch right now, at least the top 3, then there's something wrong with you. I'm sorry. I know I'm a Miami fan, but the way that this is going, if he's not top 3 in your Heisman watch, then there's something wrong with you. He tore apart, I'm sorry, the FSU's defense. The one thing I am going to give credit for is that you guys handled our running game. So, but we didn't need to run the game because Derek King threw for 40. I had 40 attempts, threw for almost 300 yards, had 2 touchdowns, also ran over you. I see you look like you're having a headache, Steven. You have something to say. I want you to say it right now.
Yeah, this would be the time right now.
Say it right now, please.
Sebastian, this is your therapy. Let's go. You're the Florida State fan here.
There's not much to talk about. The Hurricanes handled their
business. Let it out.
Every week, I only have one thing to say about the Florida State game, but every week I gotta come on here, do a show with Mike, and him, the biggest homer I've ever met in my life. Always got to give a shout out to a Steeler, to a fucking, to University of Miami Hurricane. Like, dude, like it's incredible, bro. No, that was very Andrewish of you right there. Derek King for Heisman.
But if FSU won, or if FSU was doing it, you probably would be.
Hold on, no, Mikey, it's my turn. It's my turn.
Yes, Mikey. Let's be nice.
You asked me to speak.
You're right. I'll shut up.
So here's what I'll say about this game. Leading up to this game, I was prepared, and it wasn't just me. It was every FSU fan that there was. Ironically enough, I spoke to a gentleman who happens to be on the FSU. He's a booster for FSU. Mikey, I told you this story the other day. Norvell's in some shit, man, because part of the reason when they hired him, they had told him not to start Blackman. They are still going with Blackman. I now see after this University of Miami game why it is that they're going with Blackman, because out of all the terrible options that they have, he is the least worst one. And it's troubling, man. It's upsetting. I don't know what the hell happened that we took 40 steps backwards. I mean, I get Jimbo's last year. I mean, we lost Francois, so there was that. The year after, I mean, we We lost Jimbo, but we went from being like 60th in recruiting after he left up to like 11th. So like these are those guys, right? These are those recruits. Where is the talent, dude? Like what is going on that we just look completely outmatched? I knew it after we lost to Georgia Tech and after Georgia Tech got blown out by UCF. Like that should tell you the entire story. That's how far we are from even contending for anything, man. And it's sad. I like I said, I knew this was coming. What I had told the booster literally mid conversation, I was just like, look, this is the first year that I could remember in the longest time where I couldn't talk shit because I in my mind already knew that there was no chance of us winning this game. So my only comeback was like, you better not let us beat you, because then that would have been like it. Like that would have made our season or whatever. Either way, we weren't prepared. We're not prepared to compete with Miami. We're not even prepared to compete with Georgia Tech or anybody in the ACC. We're in trouble. But the good news is that it happened in a good week, which we'll talk about later on. A lot of good things happened for the rest of my teams. So I'm just hanging on to that, and I'm ready for 2024 when hopefully my Knowles will be back in contention for something.
It's gonna take a couple of years, man. It's Norval's first year, bro. And at the end of the day, as a Miami fan, I respect every type of FSU fan. I hate Florida fans, but any type of FSU fan, I respect. At the end of the day, that's our rivalry. You know what I mean?
And look, I said this the other day, and I don't mean to take up most of the time, but if you really think about it, FSU's really never had a low point. Like this is their low point. If you really
college football's good. College football's good when Florida, Miami, and FSU are good.
They've been the most consistent. They've been consistent every single year. They've always been above average or really, really good, right? But this is their low point, and this is just it, man. Like Miami just went through it. Florida just went through it. It's just our turn. That's all you can say about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember those years. Wasn't very good. I mean,
not qualifying for a bowl 3 out of 10
2
years of the 2010s.
Yeah, two of them. Right.
Does Norval have like just a little bit of plausible deniability? Like if the AD comes up to him like, yo, what the fuck was that this past Saturday? He can be like, hey, I wasn't even there. Like I wouldn't have.
Exactly.
You know what pissed me off even more though? Do you guys want to know what pissed me off even more? Is that Deion Sanders was hired by Jackson State, meaning that he wanted to coach, meaning that we could have hired him. Like, if there was anybody that could save Florida State football, it was probably arguably the best player to ever come out of that university.
He could have been like your Ed Reed.
Yeah.
Like your swag coordinator or whatever his job is.
Norvell's nanny.
It's interesting.
Nanny Sanders.
Because we in Orlando, where I was this past weekend. Me and a friend of mine, Jordan, we actually went down and we met the hotel manager. He was an FSU, or he is an FSU fan. So for the longest time, we kept on coming down. We kept on messing with him. And we actually brought that up about, damn, FSU let Deion walk. But they wanted to put, or I guess FSU wanted to hire Deion for a special position, whether it was a position coach or something like that. But I guess when it all came back around, Deion wanted the head coaching position. FSU wasn't ready to give that to him.
And why would you – can any of us come up with a reason as to why you wouldn't hire Deion Sanders as the head coach after the atrocity that was Willie Taggart? Yeah,
maybe coaching experience, maybe stuff like that. I mean, but those are like things. But damn, now you're gonna have to. This is a whole culture shock for FSU with Norval. This is a different guy that they're coming from, Willie Taggart, a guy that likes to play music and likes to have fun, and and then all of a sudden you got this the military sergeant guy that wants his thing straight in the same line, and obviously it's not working right now. But he inherited a team, and it's probably gonna have to take maybe 1 or 2, 3 years for his game plan. If it takes that long. It may take longer, but you know.
Here's why I think it's actually going to take longer than 3 to 4 years. Right now they're not recruiting at the level that Florida State usually recruits at. Right when it comes to the big three, Florida and Miami are literally neck and neck. They're competing. They're top 10 recruiting, and Florida State is like way down. Like they're competing with Georgia Tech. That's who they're competing with in the recruiting. That's who they're around. Georgia Tech and like Purdue. Like that's like you should be above that. Florida State there's too much talent in the state of Florida. And the bigger problem is you're not keeping the talent. You have two blue chip type recruits. Both play the same position. You need safety help. One just committed to Georgia Tech, and then you have another one in Terrion Arnold, who is gonna go to either Florida or Alabama. It's a coin flip right now, but it's stuff like that. But I mean, yeah, it's gonna take a while. I mean, he. Let me tell you this: missing that Miami game bought him an extra year, because after 2 years of the program still not where they want it to be, he could simply say, "Hey, look, I'm only 0-1 against Miami. All right, I didn't play that first game. I bought my." By the way, raise your hand. I mean, do you guys think that? Well, do you think he watched that entire game? I feel like he was flipping channels, but by the second half, he's like, "I'm not even watching the second half." He just scripted.
We're not watching it after the second half.
After halftime, he's like,
No, Norvell.
Oh,
No, Norvell. Because he wasn't even there. He had COVID. He's probably flipping channels second half. How are we doing? It's not pretty. All right. Let's go. I'm not watching.
It was embarrassing.
This shit ain't none of my business.
We sent our backup punter out there to and he still gave you a nice little punt. He put you guys back at the 10, and that was our backup punter. Not even the Aussie was back there punting for you guys. He didn't go out on the field. Most electrifying player on special teams history. We got an Australian guy. That guy looks like a man.
Right? It's not just me. Everybody else is listening to this.
Right?
I gotta hype my team up somehow, okay?
Yeah. He's hyping up that punter that looks like a convict with tattoos literally from his neck down.
He fits the Miami persona, and I love it.
Hey, let's talk about Kyler Murray's backup in high school that seems to be having a pretty decent.
Kyler Murray. Hey, no, it's Derek King's backup. Let's get the right. Yeah. So let's talk about a UMECN. Florida Gators come out on top week 1. They go to Oxford, Mississippi, knock off the Ole Miss Rebels 51-35, and Kyle Trask. And I'm not exaggerating when I say this. He literally had a Joe Burrow day. Why do I say he had a Joe Burrow day? Because he tied Joe Burrow's record for most touchdowns in your first game against an SEC opponent. Kyle Trask went 30 for 42 with 416 yards and 6 touchdowns. 4 of those 6 touchdowns went to the top tight end in the country, Kyle Pitts. He had 8 receptions for 170 yards. And then you had the running game do their job. They rushed for 196 yards, almost averaging 7 yards a carry. The offense was absolutely clicking. Now, if you go on the other side of the ball, it was tough. It was difficult to watch, but you got to realize Florida was out a couple starters. There were a couple guys out. Jeremiah Moore, unavailable. Kyrie Campbell, unavailable. Brad Stewart, unavailable. And then you lose Sean Davis, your top safety, 3 minutes in the game because of a targeting penalty, which to me it could have gone either way. But knowing the history that Sean Davis has as a hitter, I wouldn't be surprised. I wasn't surprised that they went with that targeting penalty. Also, if you know Florida defense, if you know Todd Grantham defense, I'd actually say he's a guy that loves to blitz, and he wasn't blitzing at all. And I mean, the reason why I thought that was because he really didn't have game film on Ole Miss, because you have a new coach. You didn't know who the quarterback was, until the last minute. So it was kind of difficult to game plan defensively. I mean, that's my opinion on why the defense struggled a little bit. What do you think, Sheehan? What were your takeaways from the game?
Couple takeaways. I'm glad there isn't a quarterback controversy this year, because it could have been very easy. Kyle Trask came on strong last year, but if he would have struggled this first game and Emory Jones comes in to replace him and does well, 100% they would have been clamoring for Emory Jones. He's been waiting in the wings long enough. I'm impressed that Dan Mullen's gotten him to stay this long, to be honest. But I think this definitely earns a little breathing room for Kyle Trask. So I'm very happy. And to be honest, Emory Jones could have played a little bit better in the spots that he filled in. So hopefully he can get him to stay one more year, and then it'll be Emory Jones' team next year. But Kyle Trask is absolutely the answer this year. You mentioned Kyle Pitts, and yeah, first has to be a first rounder. But I was really happy for Kadarius Toney. He's I've said he just hasn't been able to put it together. He's a senior, but he has like that Percy Harvin level, like elusiveness and breakaway speed. but he just hasn't, for one reason or another, he just hasn't been able to put it all together. He was our leading rusher yesterday in only 2 carries. And he also had five catches for a touchdown. So hopefully they can continue to develop him. He's a senior, so this is it, because he's a major game-breaking talent. And we have to talk about the defense, which, I mean, a win's a win, but if you look at they honestly could have lost this game, because we put up 600 yards of offense and they put up 600 yards of offense. If you look at the yardage, and it wasn't like no Mississippi State air raid type thing. They killed us on the ground. They killed us through the air. The yardage totals were pretty much identical. We just had more success in the red zone. So something has to change. I know we were down starters, but there's no excuse for that, in my opinion. They look confused. It just not great. But Kyle Trask is the real deal.
Right on. But yeah, no, it was good to see Tony. Actually, it looked like he's starting to put it all together now. He's always been very explosive. Mikey remembers him breaking 7 tackles and just running.
That was ridiculous.
Yeah. like you could see it, like just that play by itself, you could see the kid's incredibly talented. But he came into campus as a quarterback, so he's been learning how to play this receiver position for pretty much 4 years. Now it looks like he's starting to figure it out. And if he somehow puts up a good season, gets drafted, Billy Gonzalez needs to get a huge raise, because the work he's done with Tony to get him to the level where he's at right now is incredible. Because it takes, you also have to, give credit to Tony, because there's, you have to do your stuff on your own too. There's only so much Billy can do, but yeah, Tony made a lot of nice strides. Also some notes from that game. The starting center for the game, Brett Heggie, was named SEC Defensive Lineman of the Week. And even though the defense struggled, the Gators do have the SEC Defensive Player of the Week. That goes to linebacker Ventrell Miller, who had 15 tackles.
Monster.
15 tackles. Oh my God, he killed that Ole Miss running back, and it was perfect. It was perfect. Did you realize what he did? So
whatever it was impressive.
It was 3rd and 2. And the gap opens up, but Ventrell's hiding behind. He knows the gap's open, and he waits waits his moment, and he comes in. The running back obviously doesn't see him, and he's almost takes off his head. I'm surprised he held on to the football.
Yeah, that was wow.
But yeah, that was a very intelligent player. He's that guy that's gonna have to replace David Reese now, who's in the NFL. But enough talk about the big 3 in the state of Florida. Let's move on to other things. Let's talk about a top 10 team going down. LSU, the Joe Burrow era is over. The Joe Brady era is over. The Jamar Chase, I can continue going. They did not look good. Mississippi State and Mike Leach in his first game just shows out the air raid, and LSU's defense had no answer for it. They were down Derek Stingley. Stingley was a late scratch due to an illness, not COVID-related. But you could see that it affected them, because Stingley is arguably the best corner in the country, only a sophomore, and they did not have him. And KJ Costello, if I'm not mistaken, he was a transfer out of Stanford University, lit up the world. The only reason why Kyle Trask is not the SEC offense player of the week is because this man threw for 600 yards. Instead of Florida having a combined 600 yards, he literally just threw for 600 yards. It was an impressive game. But what did you think about it, Mikey?
Listen, I called it. I know I texted you on the side when I was watching this game. I called it on the last podcast. This was going to be my upset of the week. I mean, like you said, too, LSU, they're depleted. They have a lot of people that left, whether in the draft, they graduated. They're still, I don't want to say rebuilding. They're retooling. That was something else that we had mentioned. But they have a good quarterback. They have some offense. They have some weapons on offense still. But they just need to, I guess, not mature. The mature is not the right word. It's just to grow, to be have that chemistry on that offense again. Defense, to me, didn't look good at all, especially when you go up against a Mike Leach offense. They're going to attack you. And there was a couple plays that I saw when Mississippi State was on offense that they left a couple receivers wide open. And whether it was a mess up, a confusion on the defensive end, or a blown coverage or something like that, those are things that LSU, they're known for their defense, and they need to clean that up quick. So I guess going through the Mississippi State side, maybe it was just you played a depleted LSU team, and they're going to see how this offense I guess this whole team play, because their defense played very well, especially against Cole Brennan and everything like that. But we're going to see going forward how Mississippi State plays against the rest of the SEC, since it's an all ACC schedule. So that's going to be an exciting team to watch the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Sebastian?
Yeah, I mean, Mike Leach, I don't want to say he's underrated, but I mean, the guy won games at Texas Tech. He turned Washington State into a top 25 program. Like, coming in now into the SEC, like, Mississippi State always has players. Every team in the SEC always has players. So, he did get a transfer in, KJ Costello in Stanford. I mean, he had a bad year last year, but he was pretty decent before then. It doesn't surprise me, though, that LSU dropped this game, because they lost 14 starters from a year ago. They have 2 guys, if I'm not mistaken, that are sitting out the season because they're going to be top 10 picks in the draft. Like, they lost so much. And with everything that's going on, like, they're going to take steps back. They're going to be a 3-4 loss team this year. Just expect them to take a step back is normal. They're going to be back next year. But, I mean, their defense for last year, if there was any weak link to it, it was probably the defense. That was probably where they were at the weakest. But they also lost. They lost guys like Greedy Williams and Kavon Chasen and things like that. So, I mean, the amount that they lost last year is obviously going to have an effect on this season. And I don't know about next season, but definitely this season. Don't expect. I mean, if you were expecting LSU to repeat this year, I mean, you're crazy. After all they lost, they had 15 draft picks last year, all of them starters. It's not gonna happen, man.
Clearly, experience matters. You can have all the talent in the world, but yeah, you're right. It doesn't really matter how talented your backups are if you guys don't have experience actually playing in games like this. It'll bite you. And that air raid offense is kind of like it's like the opposite of Georgia Tech's triple threat, or of Georgia Tech's triple option. They don't run that anymore, but it's a kind of offense that if you're not ready for it, it doesn't matter how good your team is, it will bite you. And they'll get you, and that's exactly what happened. So the talent was there, but they're just not ready. They kind of remind me of the 07 Gators, the year after they won in 06. They had all the talent in the world in 07. That's the year Tebow won the Heisman, but they ended up winning like 8 games because they just weren't experienced enough and didn't have a defense that was disciplined enough. Like, clearly LSU is not. They just gave up a country mile through the air. So LSU, I don't think this is the year for them. I guess they would have to run the table to make the playoff, but I don't think it's going to happen next year, though. They have studs. So next year, I think they'll be back to how they were last year.
Yeah, LSU always recruits at a high level. They grab a lot of kids. They grab pretty much everybody from the Louisiana area and can steal a few kids out of Texas. But we're going to move on to some of the biggest news that we got since we last recorded. All 5 power conference teams are back. The Pac-12 announced earlier last week that they will officially return. They're only going to play 7 games, all conference. Mikey, where do you think this leads? Do you think 7 games is enough for them to, make a case for making the college football playoff this year?
It's going to be tough to try to convince other teams that are going to be playing a full season about that, But, I mean, if you belong in the NCAA, if you belong in being in the top 10, there's always going to be an argument with you. I mean, Ohio State, there's a couple teams. You got Oregon as well, that these guys, before the season started, they were supposed to be top 10, top 5, So those teams, yeah, you got to have to plug them in. Starting off in October, when is it? October 24th, they start. They need a lot of catching up to do. It's like I've said earlier, it's going to be very interesting to see how that's going to play out, because I want to know how these guys are going to put the whole playoff together and the whole bowl situation together with those teams starting off late, especially with these guys playing at that point. It'll be like, 5 games under everybody else's belt. So that's the part that I'm really interested to see how the poll's going to come out and how they're going to end up, throwing in, is Ohio State going to be better than an Alabama team that has played 4 more teams or 4 more games than them. You know what I mean? So that's something that I would like to see play out.
if I'm NCAA, if I'm the NCAA, I don't let, or the committee, I don't let the Big Ten or the Pac-12 in. Fuck you guys. You're making this a bigger deal than what you had. Like, no, man. Like, you guys are all following the exact same thing, the exact same reports, but you're coming out with different results. And we talked about this in a previous podcast about, was this really because of the coronavirus, or is this because of the players wanting to unionize? Like, bro, fuck college football. We talked about this. This is a business, and they should punish them for making not only some of these athletes make, like, how many athletes sat out or decided to transfer because, we didn't have a season. So, and all of a sudden now you want to start it back up. No, fuck you, man. Every single, bro, the Big Ten, the Pac-12 do not deserve. Go ahead, play for a participation trophy. Go ahead, go 7-0. But I would not put them in the college football playoff. It is not right to reward them after choosing to opt out. Like, I get it. Like, Corona, great, big deal. These athletes are safer in your programs. You're seeing how, I mean, obviously there was an outbreak here with Notre Dame this past week, but for the most part, athletes are going to be safer in your campuses, and you opted not to have a season. You should not be rewarded for it. It's not fair to the SEC. It's not fair to the Big 12. It's not fair to the ACC to punish them for you just deciding to take a backseat, and all of a sudden a month later, no, we're going to play a season again. It's because you're seeing how much success the other conferences are having, and now all of a sudden, now we're losing money. I guarantee you, boosters threaten them like every single day to start a season. I guarantee you that's what happened. Fuck the Pac-12, fuck the Big Ten. Down to answer the question, yeah, no, they don't deserve to be in the playoffs this year. They can go 7-0, whether it's Oregon, Washington, whoever. It does not matter. They do not deserve to be in the playoffs.
I think it's hilarious. They're opting back in. It looks like everybody just called their bluff. Like, all right, we're gonna go play in the spring. Who's with us? And everyone's like, nah, I think we're gonna go play in the fall. Like, you know what? Actually, we will play in the fall. This clearly wasn't about the coronavirus. Football's been a surprisingly safe sport. I didn't think football would be. I thought football would have the most issues of any sport with the coronavirus, but it's actually been relatively safe. It seems like everybody's following the protocol, and now hopefully the Big 12 and the Pac-12 and the Big 10 can play safe football like everybody else is for the most part. I would put them in the playoff, just because. Okay, let me say this: if we're in the spirit of fairness, no, they don't. Sebastian's right. They don't deserve to be in the college football playoff. But college football really needs to generate revenue in any way that they can. There's no fans or very limited fans in the stands, and Ohio State is a huge draw. Penn State is a huge draw. Oregon is a huge draw. USC is a huge draw. So if they run the table, you're probably going to have to go 7-0. I don't think 6-1 is going to do it. If any of those teams run the table in an impressive fashion, I think they should put them in, just because it's going to help make up the loss of money that you get from no fans. But it's amazing that they just called their bluff and they're like, nope, we're not going to join you. Fuck spring. This is a fall sport.
Was it even a month? It was like 2 weeks.
No, yeah.
What was the point? What was the point? Honestly, explain it to me. What was the point?
You know that decision was made. That decision was made way before it was announced. It's crazy. And like what Sheehan was just saying, like, it's true. If you go 8-0, 7-0, whatever, how many games they end up playing, you better beat each game. Better be a blowout to get you. Like I agree with both of your points, Sebastian. It's messed up that you're gonna throw those teams in when you have, I don't know, let's say Florida or a Miami team that, let's say these guys go undefeated in the 12 game season. You're gonna really discredit 4 of those games because this guy's 8-0. That's kind of fucked up. I don't know how they're gonna end up doing it, but like I said,
I would take. Look, and I'm gonna give you credit here, Mikey. If, say, for example, you guys went out and just get demolished by Clemson, like, I would probably give you guys the nod over for sure a Pac-12 school. Maybe not Ohio State, depending on how it works out. Maybe Ohio State, maybe. But I would probably consider a one-loss ACC team, even though they're not a conference champion or anything like that, over one of these conferences that missed the first couple weeks of the season.
That's a huge blow for a team, for a program. Because if they weren't in, then that one loss, you could still get in there. I mean, shit, Miami right now is ranked number 8. Any other year, if it was a regular year, nothing, they wouldn't be ranked number 8 after beating UAB, Louisville, and how do you call it, FSU?
The Knowles.
Yeah, this year they wouldn't be ranked number 8. They said, but since all these teams have dropped on, now they're gonna have to plug them back in a month. Let's see where they're gonna put all these people. There's gonna be a lot of shifting in the top 25 for sure.
All right, listen. I just want to make it clear, and if this conversation comes up again, you guys did not beat FSU. You beat Tallahassee Community College.
Yeah, TCC.
He forgot the name. Like, who's that D1 AA school up north?
What's that school out west? You know, the one.
It used to be an all-girls
shit school. The shit school.
I totally forgot about the main.
That was ASA Miami, bro.
The Hialeah campus.
Yeah. All right, let's go with our picks, man.
Yeah, let's do that. Well, actually, let me just get my take off on Pac-12. But for the Pac-12, I mean, if they are 7-0, like Mikey said, they have to beat the crap out of everybody because 7 games isn't enough unless it is like 7, like very convincing win. But to be honest, I don't think we're gonna have to deal with that either way. I don't see the Pac-12. You know, even a 7-0 Pac-12 team, you know, knock off, like, let's say the SEC loser, SEC championship loser. I guarantee you that team's probably better than the best in the Pac-12, and they're probably better than them by 2 to 3 touchdowns. So at the end of the day, I don't think that's going to matter. Ohio State is Ohio State. They're a college football team. Last year, I think Ohio State was still getting. They still have Justin Fields, Sean Wade, who was one of the top corners in the draft, actually opted back in because Ohio State's going to play now. He didn't sign with an agent, so he was eligible to go back. But let's go to week 4 game picks. First one at 12 o'clock on ESPN right after College Game Day. It will be the South Carolina Gamecocks playing the Florida Gators. It is the Florida Gators' first home game of the season. Where are you guys picking? Who you guys pick? Are you going to pick Florida or are you going with the Gamecocks?
I'm going Florida. Florida just showed you how they can play. So Florida for sure.
I'm not even gonna try to make a dumbass pick right now. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Florida.
Not yet.
I'm going with Florida. I just hope it's not like a 55-45 game and their defense shuts somebody down. But I'm going with Florida.
I mean, I'm going to go with Florida too. And let's forget, it's Will Muschamp. Will Muschamp and offense usually don't mix well together.
No.
So no, Sheehan knows exactly what I'm talking about. All right, so since we've all picked Florida, we're actually gonna pick the spread. Florida right now opens at 18.5-point favorites. That's actually more than what they were favored against Ole Miss. Against Ole Miss, they're only 14. This is 4.5 points more. Mikey, do you think Florida covers that spread, or do you think South Carolina keeps it a little bit closer?
Oh, yeah. No, they'll cover that spread. They might score a little bit more than 18.
It's at the Swamp, man. It's at the Swamp. They're covering it.
Doesn't matter if it's at the Swamp. There's nobody there. It's just a football field. I'll take the point. I'll take South Carolina.
And the fact that it says this is the Swamp, you know, that's where it comes in.
Intimidating, bro. It's intimidating. You know?
Yeah, there'll only be 17,000 fans in the stadium. I think Florida 18.5 is a lot, but the fact that I know Grantham is, knowing who Todd Grantham is, he is livid at himself. He's livid at his players. And look, even one of the players came out and pretty much said, we were shit last game. Kyrie Elam, sophomore cornerback, he came out and pretty much said, yeah, we were disappointed in the way that we played. But I think Florida's going to have a better game plan. There's more film on Colin Hill, the quarterback out of South Carolina, who was a Colorado State transfer. But we can see a little bit of what they're going to try to do at South Carolina. We've seen, we have history with Will Muschamp at South Carolina. So I think Florida's able to game plan a little bit better. And I think they come away with they just get over that 18.5 mark. Next game we will be talking about will be the Texas Christian University Horned Frogs versus the Texas Longhorns. Now, the Longhorns last week, I thought they were going to blow out Texas Tech because Texas Tech was in a dogfight with Houston Baptist, and I didn't even know who Houston Baptist was until I actually read it on my notes. But, yeah, I mean, it was a dogfight. What do you guys think? Do you think Texas knocks off the TCU, or do you think TCU could pull off the upset?
I'm taking Texans. They're my favorite in that conference. And Sam Ehlinger, I know it was a dogfight, like you said, but he held up his own. I'm sorry. He threw 5 touchdowns. That's going to continue against TCU.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, wait. Is that a horned frog or is that a longhorn?
Hook 'em horns, baby. Hook 'em horns.
I didn't know who you were going with.
No.
You're thinking Texas right there.
Wait. Is he flipping? Sebastian? Are you flipping from Florida State? You're gonna be a Longhorn fan now.
I already flipped to the real University of Miami, the Florida International Panthers.
Wow. Okay.
Oh, wow! Breaking news right here on the podcast. Notable podcaster and Florida State Seminole fan Sebastian Caballero has flipped his commitment from the Florida State Seminoles to the FIU Panthers. Have you dropped a note? Please respect my decision. Have you done all that?
No, it's a joke. I wouldn't do that. But if I did have to pick a university to go to or to cheer for in Miami, it would definitely be the Panthers. After all, I mean, they are the ones that win those games apparently. On prime time.
Yep.
Now that I think about it, I think the curved one is the Horned Frogs. I think it's curved, and then that's the Longhorns. Okay, so I'll go with the Longhorns. Sam Ellinger's a stud. They really did struggle against Texas Tech, but I think they'll come out on top over TCU.
All right, so since we've all picked Texas again, we're going to go with the spread. Spread is at 13 right now. Texas is 13-point favorites. Do you think the Longhorns will cover the spread, or do you think TCU can make it a ball game like the Red Raiders did, or AKA the Fighting Patrick Mahomes?
I was gonna say that they won't take the points because with the Texas Tech thing, but I'll take the 13 and I'll leave it at that. I'm not gonna say that they're gonna score more than that, but 13. I'll take the points for Texas.
I think it's gonna be a closer game than people think. This is a rivalry game. This is Texas against Texas. Mind you, this might be like a 55-58 game. I know Texas's offense isn't, it's not Oklahoma or anything like that, but this could be a very high score. I think they keep it close.
Yeah, I'm picking Texas. I know Texas struggled against Texas Tech, but TCU just lost to Iowa State. I mean,
they were
did not come.
Yeah, and then they quickly realized why they shouldn't be ranked.
Yeah,
they were ranked by default. Let's face it, they were ranked by default.
Yeah, I'm taking Texas to cover.
Who did they lose to? Central Arkansas? Was that it?
No, Appalachian State.
Is that who they lost to?
Yep.
Man.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
Yeah, give me the Longhorns. Give me the Longhorns. I'm gonna give TCU the points, and I'm still gonna pick the Longhorns. Up next, North Carolina football is back after a short COVID scare. North Carolina is back on the gridiron. They'll actually be playing against the undefeated Boston College Golden Eagles. Mikey, does Sam Howell have enough to knock off the Eagles?
I know a part of me wants to say that whole little week off and now, coming in, wants to say Boston College since they've been game ready, but I think UNC's defense is actually really good, and I think they're going to actually come up with this win.
Oh, we were just talking about Texas, Mac Brown, Hall of Fame coach. UNC is going to be scary, man. They're going to be scary not only this year but going forward. I'm taking UNC. Boston College might be ranked, but it's one of those Miami situations. They probably wouldn't be ranked if everybody else is playing right now. So, give me UNC.
Yeah, give me UNC as well. Boston College is ranked, but they narrowly escaped this past week against noted college football juggernaut Texas State. So I'm taking UNC.
Yeah, give me UNC. Spread is at 13.5. Where do you guys lean?
I'll take the points for UNC.
Same.
Yeah, UNC is going to cover.
Agreed. Let's be different, guys. Come on. Gosh.
I have a spicy one coming up.
All right. So next game we have on the docket at 3:30 on CBS. We have the Texas A&M Fighting Jimbo Fishers going to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, to play the Alabama Crimson Tide. Let's discuss the game. Kellen Mond, let's face it. Texas A&M's coming off a struggle win against Vanderbilt, and Vanderbilt's arguably the worst team in the SEC. Texas A&M was only able to beat the Commodore 17-12. Offense looked very weak, And this is not the year to have a weak offense, especially with the senior quarterback like Kellen Mond. On the other hand, Alabama took care of business against the Missouri Tigers. They won 38-19. The score doesn't dictate how much of an ass whooping it really was. But let's talk about it. Who you guys pick in the A&M Alabama game?
I picked A&M to be like my surprise team or my team to watch for in the SEC just because I want to see how Jimbo is going to be doing with his whole recruiting class and stuff like that. But I think Alabama is going to be way too much for Texas A&M, so I'll pick Alabama in this game.
Man, it's almost. I already know Jimbo because I want him to win this game, so I'm gonna take him. Okay, Jimbo always has a couple surprise. Man, you know what? When I think Jimbo Fisher, I think of the good times. You know, when we used to beat Miami 7 years in a row. You know, we used to. You know, there's some good times with Jimbo, man.
Good times.
No, one thing. Look, he's one hell of a recruiter. He's in year 3 of that program now. They're gonna have a big. I know they had a bad week. I expect them to have a really, really good game. I'm going to take Texas A&M to upset Bama in this one.
Yeah, I'm not taking Texas A&M. Jimbo's a great coach, and granted, I hate FSU with every fiber in my body, but I actually didn't mind Jimbo Fisher. I do root for him to succeed. But Nick Saban,
so charismatic, bro. Such a great guy.
Yeah, he's such a nice guy. And he's a great coach, but Nick Saban eats his lunch every time they face off against each other, as he does against all of his former assistants. So I'm taking Bama. Death, taxes, and Bama competing for national championship.
Yeah, give me Alabama. Alabama wins, and I think they win pretty comfortably, especially with Texas and down 3 corners who have opted out for the season. One of them just opted out earlier today. We're recording Monday night. One of them opted out earlier today. One of their nickel corners, he's out for the season. And they also are going to lose they also lost their best linebacker coming into the season. Anthony Hines, either junior or the third, he's out. Alabama, Texas A&M's defense is depleted, and it doesn't help that their top receiver coming from last year opted out and has already entered in the NFL draft. So there's no way he's coming back. But yeah, Sebastian, just so you know, the spread for this game is 16.5 favoring Alabama. Does that make you feel a little bit more confident in your pick or less?
What was the spread? What was the spread on that Mississippi State game? Just wondering.
Let me pull it up.
They're called upsets for a reason. Give me Jimbo Fisher, man. He always pulls one out of his ass.
It was 14.5. It was a little bit less. It was a little bit less.
Man, there you go. It's Upset Saturday. Check the calendar. It's Upset Saturday. It has it marked down there on your calendar. It's a holiday. Upset Saturday.
Yeah, I think there's a difference between those two programs. Next game it's probably the game of the week. It'll be the Auburn Tigers going up against the Georgia Bulldogs. Georgia struggled a little bit earlier in the game. They have some quarterback issues. However, according to Kirby Smart, the USC transfer, former 5-star recruit JT Daniels, has officially been cleared to play by team doctors. So it is now expected that JT Daniels will be the starter for this game. Where do you guys lean? Do you think Auburn and Bo Nix can knock off the Georgia Bulldogs, or do you think JT Daniels lights a fire under this Georgia Bulldog offense and they come away with a victory at home? Mikey?
I like to take one upset each week. This is my upset. I'm taking Auburn. JT Daniels coming in. This is the first game with Georgia. Auburn, Bo Nix, he killed it last week. He threw some dimes. I don't know if you guys saw the game or anything or caught the highlights. He threw some dimes last week. So I'm taking Auburn. They usually have a strong defense. They're going to have to come up big against Georgia, but I don't think JT Daniels gets it done this week.
Wow, I think we might agree on an upset here. I got Auburn too, man. I like Nix a lot. I don't think it'll happen this year, but I think he's going to be a Heisman contender going forward. He's got already. He's a sophomore already with so much experience under his belt. I mean, watch out for Auburn next year in the SEC. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to take Auburn over Georgia.
Man, 3 in a row. We're all picking Auburn over Georgia. I to be honest, I don't think I would not be surprised if JT Daniels doesn't play right out of the gate. They were losing to Arkansas at halftime this past week, and Stetson Bennett came and lit it up. So I don't know. Kirby Smart's got an interesting decision on his hand because Stetson Bennett looked really good. Granted, it was Arkansas, but like I said, they were losing, and DeJuan Mathis just wasn't getting it done. So I wouldn't be surprised if Stetson Bennett starts, which would be his first start going up against Auburn. And I do like the progress that Bo Nix has made. He's still not polished, not like other people in the SEC at quarterback, but he looks good enough. And obviously the running is always, his legs are always going to be there. So I'm taking Auburn over Georgia. I think their quarterback issues are going to be too much, and they just didn't look good in general versus Arkansas.
All right, so going into this game, I was a little confused. I didn't know who I was going to pick. I did come up with who I was going to decide. However, listening to you guys, I'm going to be a little different. Simply just to be different, I'm going to go with the Auburn Tigers. I think not Auburn. I'm going to go Georgia Bulldogs. I'm going to go with the Georgia Bulldogs. JT Daniels is a good – at this point, you have to play JT Daniels. And yes, that Bennett guy did look good, but at the end of the day, Arkansas didn't prepare for him. They prepared for Mathis, and they did a phenomenal job game planning against Mathis. Now the book is out on Bennett a little bit. They're a little bit more prepared. Auburn's probably also got a much better defense than what Arkansas has. They're going to prepare, but they're going to be more prepared. And I feel like JT Daniels might be the answer. They really need him to step up. The defense at Georgia is awesome. They have a great defense. Richard LeCounte's probably the best safety in the country. 2 picks last game against Mr. OVO, Felipe Franks. But yeah, it's
your boy.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Georgia. They're a touchdown favorite in this game. Now, before we sign off, there is one more game we're gonna be talking about. We didn't have it on the docket, but we're gonna discuss it.
This is the prime game.
Yes. So the last and final game we will be talking about this Saturday at 4 p.m. at a laptop near you. The Jacksonville State will be playing up against the Florida State Seminoles on ESPN 3.
The Ocho.
Notice why I said a laptop near you, because this game would not be nationally televised. In fact, ESPNU actually picked up the FIU football game over Middle Tennessee State, and it's actually in the same time slot at 4 o'clock. So that says a lot about this game. Sebastian, you look miserable right now. I'm sorry I had to do this to you. Fun fact for you guys is you're actually favored to win this game. You guys are favored by 27 points. The weird thing is Florida State hasn't even scored 27 points yet this season. I think their total amount of points is 23. But Sebastian, talk about it. Let's go. Give me your game preview over Jacksonville State. I think they're the Gamecocks. Let me double check while Sebastian talks.
There are multiple Gamecocks.
Here's what I'll say, and this is the only thing that I will say. Like I said about, like 5 minutes ago, this Saturday is Upset Saturday. Don't be surprised if we're not going to lose to Jacksonville.
You're betting on the upset? You think Florida State's going to win?
Man. At this point, I don't even know, bro. I don't even know, man. I don't
Who do you think starts that game? Roadmaker, or what's this guy's name, or Blackman?
It'll be Blackman.
Tate Rodemaker.
It'll be Blackman.
I thought that was the guy on the Celtics.
I was thinking the same thing right now.
It'll be Blackman, unfortunately. And then he'll have a nice game and throw for over 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. No, actually, he doesn't throw for 200 yards. He'll throw for 188 yards and 3 touchdowns. Either one interception or 1 fumble, because he's got to have one. And then as you start thinking about, okay, all right, well, this is the guy. And then we'll play Notre Dame the week after and then fucking get slaughtered again. And that's just how the season's gonna go. You remember when I was like, before the season, I was like, dude, we might go like 7-4, 8-4, whatever the fuck it was. Dude, we might go like 2-9 or 2-10, whatever the fuck.
Dude, if you don't win this one, there's not a win on your schedule. It would have to be an upset. If you can't win
Oh, I know.
Jacksonville
Yeah,
State.
you look at the teams that were playing. I mean, obviously it'll change once the other conferences start playing. But like, Pitt ranked, Louisville ranked, Clemson, obviously Notre Dame, like this is ridiculous. So I mean, it's okay. You know what? It's okay. Listen, the Marlins are in the playoffs. Heat
Oh
in the
yes,
finals.
yes.
Dolphins got a dub this past Thursday. We got Tua. I don't know. It's nice outside right now. It's stopped. Life is good.
Yeah. Just to flex.
They are the Gamecocks.
Yep, they are the
Wow,
Gamecocks.
look at that.
I got it right. Yeah. Yep,
And
out of the Ohio Valley Conference, the OVC. You know
The NIA or
No.
okay.
There is an NAIA conference that sounds pretty similar to that. That's the first thing I did think of. But so Sebastian,
By the way,
but what's up, Cian?
well, no, I was just going to point out that this is the man that you guys believe will lead the Bulldogs over the Auburn Tigers.
Go up a little.
Is that Gardner Minshew's ugly cousin? Jesus.
That's
Gee,
JT Daniels.
Mustache, though, bro.
No. Hey, you know who Gardner Minshew is? Look up the quarterback out of what's this guy's name? The quarterback out of South Carolina, Colin Hill. He looks like a mix of Jake Fromm and Gardner Minshew. It looks like their love child. I swear to God. Somebody pointed it out to me earlier last week, and when I actually saw it, I was in shock. Do you have it?
Oh, look at it up. The guy from Colorado State?
Yeah, but no, he's the quarterback now at South Carolina. He was the quarterback at Colorado
Okay,
State.
I know what you're talking about. I see it. He got the whole Gardner Minshew going on. I like that.
And he looks a little bit like Jake Fromm. He does look – that's funny. That's funny. All right, so I think that's enough college football talk. Sebastian, take it away.
Take it away, man. That's it, dude. You already deprived me of all the energy that I had.
All right.
All the
We
motivation.
got to bring more life because the Heat are finally they're in the finals again, and we're playing LeBron, and I cannot wait for that series to start on Wednesday.
Yeah, hey, shout out to all the Miami teams, all right? All the Miami teams are doing well. Literally, on Thursday, the Dolphins took care of business, beat up on the Jacksonville Jaguars. On Friday, the Miami Marlins knocked off the Yankees, clinching. On Saturday, the Miami Hurricanes just embarrassed Florida State.
Slaughtered.
And on Sunday, the Heat win Game 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals and go to the NBA Finals. So the city of Miami's had a great week. Let's see if that continues on with the Miami Marlins and the Heat if they're successful during their playoff runs. But that's all the time we have for you during the college football segment here at Tool Bags Up Sports. Thank you guys for listening. Before we go, any final thoughts?
Keep it going, baby. College football's finally back. Everyone's playing. Let's keep it going.
We're 1-2 after if we win this week. You know what? Let me not even claim that win. We're 1-2. Look, it doesn't look as bad. 1-2 doesn't sound as bad.
You're right. It does.
I'm happy football's staying safe, and I'm happy all the teams are back, and we're not doing no spring football nonsense.
Absolutely. And for those – what happened, Mikey?
It feels normal again.
Oh my God, yes it does. It feels so nice, guys. Thank you for listening. Continue to wash your hands, hand sanitize, wear your mask outside, practice social distancing. Let's continue this. All right, college football is here. All we got football, we got basketball, we got baseball, all going on at the same time. It's a beautiful thing. But let's continue. Let's keep this train rolling. Let's continue to do all the right things, and let's finally beat this damn virus. Because I cannot wait to walk outside and not worry about contracting something that I cannot see. So that's all.
Forgetting your mask inside. Bro, there's nothing worse in the world.
Oh my God, yeah.
Walk
into a restaurant and just turn it around like, going, I gotta go get this.
Let's do the next podcast with our mask on. Let's see if we can hear each other.
Yeah. All right. Once again, thank you all for listening. Continue to do the right things and have a great week.
All right, fellas. So let's switch over to baseball because the playoffs are underway tomorrow. New format for the first time. We have 8 teams per league making the playoffs. This is how my Miami Marlins were able to make the playoffs. in the most romantic fashion. Haven't made the playoffs in 17 years. Last playoff game they won was at Yankee Stadium when they won the World Series. And ironically enough, they also won it on Jose Day. You cannot tell me that baseball isn't the most romantic sport in the world. Let's talk playoffs though, because there's a lot of good matchups. You're talking Marlins Cubs. You're talking about the Rays potentially being the favorites in this year's playoffs. Guys, what are your thoughts on the playoff bracket this year?
I think it's going to be chaotic. That's for sure. Shorter series, so there's a bigger chance for upsets, and it's not what we're used to. This like NBA type system with like the 8 seeds and whatnot. But I think it's okay for a year. I mean, this MLB season was wonky from the beginning, so let's try something different. It could be entertaining. So I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I'm excited for it too. I mean, best 2 out of 3 first series starts on tomorrow. We're recording on Monday. It's going to be on Tuesday at 2:00. Those bang bang Houston Astros are going to be going up against the Minnesota Twins. Best 2 out of 3 can create a lot of – it could get crazy, all right? It's literally nobody can take this series lightly. The number 1 seed cannot take a series lightly against – like the Tampa Bay Rays can't take the Blue Jays lightly because those guys can mash. Luckily for them, they're not going to be playing in Buffalo in that, low league park. But it's going to be a fun – I'm excited for it, mostly because the Marlins are in it. And also, Sebastian, one thing you forgot to point out that I honestly learned about yesterday, besides it being the 4th-year anniversary of the passing of Jose Fernandez, it was also this anniversary of Derek Jeter's final hit in Yankee Stadium. For those of you who don't know, Derek Jeter is the CEO and part owner of the Miami Marlins. So there's a lot of things going for the Marlins right there. It was almost like destiny. And to record the final out was the captain of the team, Miguel Rojas, the guy that held this team together, the glue of the team. He deserved to get that final out. It's poetic justice, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think a lot of great things happened this year. I think we spoke about it before the season, which, by the way, one of the World Series matchups that we didn't want to happen is actually in play right now, which is the Blue Jays and the Reds. Not sure if you guys remember that one, but just so many special moments throughout this year. I mean, you want to talk about the Marlins. We were talking about how, there was no way that they were going to win in the division that they were in, playing not only the NL East, but the AL East. And look at that. Like, they ended up being the 2nd seed in the NL East. You talk about the Blue Jays as a surprise team. Not that the Reds were a surprise team, but they kind of came out and clinched a playoff spot. Talk about the White Sox. They came out and clinched a playoff spot. I know that was one of our picks, even though they kind of choked on that number 1 seed on the last day of the season. But either way, just a lot of special things happened. The Padres, man. I mean, a lot of great things happen. We have a lot of great matchups, potential upsets also. And I think something that comes into play now is the 3-game series in round 1 in the wild card round, because this is just like a regular season series, right? Like, just best 2 out of 3. If in game 1 you got a bad day, like you're already behind the hole and you're facing elimination from the go. Let's talk about teams that could potentially be upset. What higher seeds should be concerned about an upset?
Higher seed. Well, I've said it from the beginning. I've never really believed in the Twins. Something about them. I just can't get behind them. And granted, the Astros have not been the Astros that we're familiar with, but they still have horses, and they still have horses that haven't been great this season, but it just feels like they're ready to pop off. Like, Jose Altuve didn't lose any skill this year. Carlos Correa didn't lose any skill. George Springer didn't lose anything. Alex Rickman didn't lose anything, but yet they've struggled. Maybe when the lights are truly coming off in the playoffs, maybe this is when they can finally put it all together. Another top seed that I think could be in trouble is the Braves, because the Reds are just okay, pun intended. The Reds are red hot, and they do have 3 studs in their rotation that over a 3-game series can absolutely take over. And the Braves, their one flaw is their pitching, particularly their starting pitching. So I believe the Braves were my World Series pick, but I would not be surprised if the Reds take them down.
Yeah, losing Soroka was huge. Was a big blow for them. But for I'm gonna say, man. I mean, I know I'm wearing the jersey. I'm wearing that, but the Cubs got to be worried. The Cubs should be worried, and here's why: the Cubs right now, offensively, are going through they're struggling mightily. They're not having good at bats. They're struggling, and the Miami Marlins, when it comes to pitching, you're talking about Sandy Alcantara, who's going to be the number one guy. Uber talented and 2021 Rookie of the Year, I'm already going to call it, Sixto Sanchez. And then you got Pablo Lopez, who, for the most part of the year, he was carrying a sub-2 ERA. Pitching is what's going to dictate this playoffs, especially in these types of series. When you look at the pitching at Miami, between the Miami Marlins pitching and the Chicago Cubs pitching, you gotta lean the Marlins, and the Cubs do have more playoff experience. However, the Miami Marlins have, they're right now they're playing with house money. No one expected them to make this run. All right, so this is a team that's pretty dangerous, and when you have three horses like Sandy, Sixto, and Pablo, those guys, especially down the stretch, except for Sixto struggled the last two games, but I think he bounces back when he's probably going to pitch game 2. When he gets to rock game 2, I think he bounces back because the Cubs have no idea what they're about to see from the young Dominican pitcher that Pedro Martinez thinks he's going to be a better version of himself.
Well, that was my pick, was the Marlins against the Cubs for obvious reasons. I mean, God, if I was a Cubs fan, man, I would pray that if they can not lose to any team, it should be my teams, like any Chicago sport. Like, don't lose to my team. You don't want that. You will never hear the end of it. I think the Marlins have a good matchup, like you said. We have the pitching in order to do it. I know we struggle for whatever reason against Kyle Hendricks. He's got our number. But either way, I think it's a good matchup for the Marlins. It's a great opportunity for an upset. The Marlins are young. They're playing with nothing to lose. They are not supposed to be there, so I think that makes it very dangerous for the Cubs. But the team that I'm going to go for is the other Chicago team, the White Sox upsetting the A's. Because they can do it. They have the depth to do it, and because of pitching. You got Giolito going 1, Keuchel going 2. That's a hell of a 1-2 punch, and it's better than the A's 1-2 punch. I know the A's have a better offense, but do they really? I mean, look at the White Sox numbers for the majority of the season. They have what I think should be the AL MVP, Jose Abreu, who led the league in RBIs, had 19 home runs, hit over 320 this year, or right around 320. Luis Robert, Yohan Moncada. You talk about all their guys. If they click,
Tim Anderson.
Yeah, if they click, they can easily send the A's home. And remember, again, they're the number 7 seed, but if they would have won on Sunday, they would have been the number 1 seed in the AL. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually agree with you, Sebastian. To be honest with you, I think they're even better than them offensively. I think the White Sox are a better offensive team. And the reason why is, no. It's just like when you list the names, where's Matt Chapman? He's not there. That's your arguably your best hitter. No more Matt Chapman. Matt Olson, for the most part of the season, batted under his weight and, could only hit home runs. And in, the A Stadium, it's going to be hard to hit home runs because it's so massive. While you look at the White Sox, they have 2 hitters in their lineup that are MVP caliber players. You have a guy in Luis Robert who is one of the favorites to be Rookie of the Year. And then you have Giolito, who threw a no-hitter this year. And you got Dallas Keuchel, who probably has more playoff experience than anybody on the Athletics and on the Chicago White Sox. So Keuchel's a guy that knows what it's like to pitch in the postseason, and I feel like he's going to be able to answer the bell.
So I got 2 questions here. Both for the playoffs. We're going to run down through each matchup, and then I want you guys to give me your picks. If you don't have the games in front of you so you don't have to remember them, go ahead and pull them up as I'm reading. So in the AL, the number 1 seed, the Tampa Bay Rays, will take on the Toronto Blue Jays. Cleveland Indians taking on the New York Yankees. What a disappointing season the Yankees have had with all their talent. And that's going to be another tough matchup there for them. Against Shane Bieber and the Indians. Twins ended up as a 3 seed against the Houston Astros, the number 6 seed. and the matchup that we were just talking about, the A's against the White Sox. On the other side in the NL, we have the Dodgers and the Brewers, who snuck in on the very last day of the season. Christian Yelich, extremely disappointing season. One of the many stars that are struggling this season, but the Brew Crew finding a way to get into the playoffs. The story of the NL, I guess, this season, the San Diego Padres up against the St. Louis Cardinals. That's going to be a good matchup. The youth against the experienced, the seasoned St. Louis Cardinals. The Chicago Cubs up against the Miami Marlins. Let's have a repeat of 2003. And the Atlanta Braves, the number 2 seed, my pick to make it to the World Series up against the Cincinnati Reds as the number 7 seed. Sheehan, give me your picks for each. I know you're big on the Rays.
Yeah. Rays are going to smack the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays will be there in a couple years, but they're not. The Rays are machines. The Athletics are going to get by the White Sox. The Athletics haven't had a lot of playoff experience as of late. Over the last couple of years, although they've been contending, I think that changes this year. I think the White Sox are just not playing good ball at the right time, especially Lewis Robert is riding the struggle bus. No, he's driving the struggle bus. That's what Lewis Robert's doing. Like I said before, one of my upsets, I'm taking the Astros over the Twins. And I think a lot of the Houston Stars revert to their form now that it's, do or die. I think the Yankees get by the Indians. I guess that's an upset since the Yankees are a 5 seed and the Indians are a 4 seed. But the Yankees are just too powerful. The Indians, I wouldn't be surprised if they lose the Bieber game, but they'll win the next 2. The Dodgers are going to smack the Brewers. The Brewers probably shouldn't. The Brewers have no business being on the same field as the Dodgers. I'm gonna eat my words. I was picking the Braves early this season to at least make it to the World Series, but I'm taking the Reds over them. And I'm sorry, guys, but the Marlins cannot hit Yu Darvish, and they cannot. I'm sorry, and they can't. They can't.
Only team with a perfect record in the playoffs. Just wanted to throw it out there.
That is true. That is
never
true.
lost.
All 2 times.
Never lost.
All 2 times that they've been in there. Just saying. Just throwing it out.
They're not. I'm picking the Cubs, but I'll be rooting for the Marlins. The Padres are getting by the Cardinals, and that's it.
All right, so it's my turn now. Game 1, it's going to be Toronto versus Tampa. Well, I should really say the Buffalo Blue Jays versus the Tampa Bay Rays. Give me Tampa Bay. I think Tampa Bay is just better than them up and down. I think Tampa might even give them a nice sweep. Tampa Bay's got a lot of nice pitching. You got Charlie Morton, got Tyler Glass now, and you got Blake Snell. It's tough to compete with those 3. I don't even know who the Blue Jays 3 is going to be besides Rue and Nate Pearson. The next matchup would be the Athletics and the White Sox. I just talked about it. Yeah, give me the White Sox. I think the White Sox can do some damage, and it sucks because the Athletics, they won the division. They're playing with a little bit more energy now because they actually won the division. However, I just like this White Sox team, and they said it from the beginning before the season. I predicted the White Sox were going to win their division. They didn't end up doing it. However, I think they're still a dangerous team because we mentioned Moncada, Abreu, Anderson, Robert, and Moncada. We forgot to mention Eloy Jimenez. We forgot to mention Yasmani Grandal. Yeah, there's hitters up and down this lineup. So this is a lineup that's going to do a lot of damage, and they don't need to hit for power. They have a good combination of power and speed. So they, in such a big ballpark, those doubles in the White Sox stadium might be triples. Yankees, Indians. Give me the. I guess it's not upset, but I think the Indians win. I think pitching when you're not pitching, you're not playing Yankee Stadium. That short porch in right field is not going to be able to sneak a home run or 2 over for the Yankees. I like the Indians pitching, and I think Game 1 will determine the series because if you can't win that Garrett Cole Shane Bieber game, the Yankees are done for. Because who do they have after that? Yasuhiro Tanaka. And they don't even know who Game 3. They don't even have it. Well, you look at the Indians, you got Carlos Cookie Carrasco and Zach Plesac. And Zach Plesac's better than your average number 3, 4-2 record with a 2.28 ERA. I mean, that's pretty good from a guy that you're going to be throwing number 3, 55.1 innings pitched, 57 strikeouts, only 6 walks. I mean, this is a guy that is absolutely dominant. Doesn't get enough attention because of what was around him. You have Shane Bieber, who I predicted was going to be that Cy Young Award winner in the American League, and he's going to run away with that shit. He might even win the American League MVP. There's consideration for him winning that award as well. And then you also had Mike Clevenger, even though Clevenger's not there anymore. You still got a guy in Plesac who is very young, very talented, and when he's played this year, he has been nails. And if they get into any trouble, you get Tristan McKenzie, tall, skinny righty who throws absolute gas. I mean, he was very impressive during his short time in the major leagues. Then for the Twins,
I don't know how that guy throws so hard.
It's got to be arm speed. It's got to be arm speed and the arm angle he throws from, because that kid, he looks like a high school kid. He is a
string bean.
I don't think he's found the weight room yet. Over there in Cleveland, and I'm a little worried. I don't think they feed him because, I mean, I don't know who's skinnier, him or the Florida State quarterback, James Blackman.
All right, guys, baseball segment.
All right, so then for the last series, Astros and Twins. Give me the Twins. The Astros aren't hitting at the level that they're accustomed to. It turns out baseball is always a hard game, but it's even more difficult when you don't know what's coming. And they will not know what's coming, especially when you have two big-time arms like Kenta Maeda and Jose Barrios. I would not be surprised if this is over in 2. Going to the National League, Braves versus Reds. This one's intriguing. I think it goes down to the wire, but I think Atlanta does end up winning. I think Atlanta's just overall the better team. The Reds are hot. The Reds pitching is nasty. But the Braves still do have some starting pitching. You have a guy like Max Fried, who was awesome. Ian Anderson, who was very good. The number 3, you don't have Cole Hamels. Mike Soroka's been done for the year. Are you going to throw Kyle Wright? I mean, he hasn't been good this year. But when you look at the lineup, Freddie Freeman's probably going to win the National League MVP. You have guys like Ronald Acuna who can hit. That's Sebastian's favorite player. Ozzie Albies has been good. Oh, Marcell Ozuna could be in the conversation for NL MVP, but I think Freeman's just playing much better than him. You got guys like Duvall, Travis d'Arnaud, who is having a monster season. I mean, Dansby Swanson's finally having his best offensive, season in his career. I mean, they got bats on top of bats, and I think their offense is too much for the Reds. Pitching, even though you got, I don't know if Sonny Gray's even available. That hurts. If Sonny Gray's not available, I think that kills the Reds' chances, because you got to love Luis Castillo, and you got to love probably National League Cy Young Award winner Trevor Bauer. That guy's had a phenomenal year. Moving forward, Padres, give me Padres over Cardinals. Dodgers, just show why the Brewers should not be in the postseason, why a sub-500 team should not be in the postseason. They beat them pretty easily. There's a lot of talent on that Dodger team. I predict them to win the World Series, and I am not wavering off that selection. Marlins versus Cubs. Now, I look at this as a fan's perspective, and I've looked at this as an unbiased perspective. This is most definitely a winnable series for the Marlins. The Cubs are not a team that, they're not the 2016 Cubs anymore. That Cubs team is gone. They're not the same. They're not as good.
But they have Chris Bryant.
I was about to say him. Chris Bryant isn't, Chris Bryant of 2016.
Give me Eugenio Suarez.
But yeah, screw it. I'm going with the Marlins. The Marlins are playing fearless baseball right now. They actually took 2 out of 3 against the Yankees. They didn't even care about the third game. They didn't really play that hard. They had Daniel Castano, who was the final piece of that Ozuna trade, and Castano was nails. All right, this guy is going to come out of the bullpen. He's going to, put people to sleep, because he's going to throw that 88-mile-per-hour blazing fastball, and hitters are just going to be way out in front of it. I mean, his arm angle is going to make at-bats for lefties very difficult. And if you notice, the Cubs do have some big power-hitting lefties like Anthony Rizzo and Kyle Schwarber, who might have issue with a guy like Daniel Castano and Miami Beach native Richard Bleiber, who the Marlins acquired earlier in the season from the Baltimore Orioles.
All right, I'm gonna give my picks out real quick, and then I want to talk about something. Real quick. So Rays easy in two. Um, I think it's going to be tough for the Yankees to win two against the Indians. So I'm going to actually take the Indians. They're already ahead 1-0. That's it. They just got to win one game before the Yankees can win two, in my eyes. Twins, Astros. That my dream of an Astros Dodgers World Series is not going to happen this year. Um, I'm going to take the White Sox again. I'm going to take the White Sox over the A's. The A's, another heartbreak, another first-round exit. I think if they had Matt Chapman, maybe I would swing their way, but I'm going to take the White Sox. Dodgers over Brewers. I'm going to take the Padres over the experienced Cardinals. I think the Padres have way too much offensively, and they got some depth in on the mound. They are going to face Jack Flaherty, so I mean that's another toss-up game, but I think that the Padres get it done. Before I get to the Marlins Cubs, Braves sweeping the Reds, even with facing Castillo and Bauer. I think the Braves are going to show out. They're due. They're trying to make up for what they did last year. That embarrassing performance they had last year in Game 5 of the NLDS against the Cardinals. They're going to make up for it, and they'll advance. The Marlins, I'm going to have them upsetting the Cubs. This is Chicago. I cannot take the Marlins, but they have a legitimate shot to do it because of everything that I said earlier. They are playing for nothing. They have nothing to play for. I think you got a struggling Javi Baez. You got a struggling Chris Bryant. Right now, you can argue, show it. You can argue that Jason Hayward is probably one of the he's been a more reliable hitter than Javi Baez, who was an MVP candidate a couple years ago. I like the Marlins, man. I like Garrett Cooper's been stroking as of late. You got the pitching. The bullpen is my one concern, but guess what? The Cubs bullpen is just as bad. So we'll see. We'll see how that turns out. What I did want to say is the playoff format. I hate it. I don't know about you guys. I don't think that more than 50% of the league should be getting into the postseason. I'm not in favor of it. It's cool that the Marlins are in, but just I'm not in favor of it. Not a fan of it. Like maybe I don't even know what you can put together, but I'm not a fan of the A teams.
Let me mention something. I think this is going to stay. In fact, Uncle Manfred has said that he's in favor of this. So Uncle Rob Manfred is in favor of this. I'm going to make a prediction. The reason why this stays, and people are going to complain, oh, why is more than half of the percentage very NBA-like? I think two teams get added. I think they're going to add two expansion teams. Everybody's going to Vegas. I know there's a minor league team already in Vegas. I think they add one in Vegas and maybe like a Charlotte area type MLB type team, somewhere that they love baseball. That's an area that has been mentioned, as a potential landing spot for baseball. I could see them adding, some teams. I could see them adding. If you look, that's where I'm just leaning. I think they might add two expansion teams in order to keep that playoff format, and even like maybe a couple less games instead of 162, maybe 140. And you know why? More playoff games mean more money, and that's all they care about. That's all Rob Manfred cares about. And the money for playoff baseball is much greater than game 131 between the Pittsburgh Pirates and the Arizona Diamondbacks. No one cares about that game.
Let's talk World Series pick, and then let's bounce. Let's get out of here.
Well, hold on. I have thoughts about the format.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Come on. Hey, come on.
I do think that Rob Manfred is going to like the results of this playoffs, and it makes me really nervous because you're right. It is great for the owners because they don't have to pay players as much during the playoffs. You only make money as an MLB player for the necessary games. In other words, if it's a best of 7 series, you make money for the first 4 games, and everything else is bonus. That game 5, 6, and 7, you do not make any money. So I wouldn't doubt it if he keeps it. I'm all for expansion, but no one's going to want it. But Rob Manfred's, some people say if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Rob Manfred's motto is if it ain't broke, break it. So he's just that. I think that's what he's going to try to do, and we're going to have 16 playoff teams in a 30 or 32 whatever team league, and everybody's going to get pissed about it, and then he's going to get on ESPN and say something really stupid about it, just like he always does, because the guy just lives with his foot in his mouth. So I wouldn't be surprised if this stays, although I would really like for it to go back to normal.
Same. World Series picks. Sheehan, I know I had mentioned that you've been on the Rays train. I feel like you wanted to pick the Rays at the beginning, but you were on that Tyler Glasnow pick. You're just hyping them up before the season, man. But tell us who your World Series pick is. Is it the Rays?
No, I think they're going to make it to the World Series, but I don't think. I think this is finally the year that the Dodgers are going to do it. Finally, this is finally the year, and it's not going to count for that much because it's already a weird season and there's no fans. But I think in a format like this with no fans, it's more about talent than anything else, because there's less external factors. A lot of times it's more about just which team is just flat out better, and I think the Dodgers are just flat out better than everybody else. Tyler Glasnow was my pick. He's been striking everybody out, but he has struggled a little bit this year. I do think the Rays make it far. I would not be surprised if it's Yankees Dodgers, which would be, I think the Yankees are going to get hot. I wouldn't be surprised if it's Yankees Dodgers in the World Series, but the Dodgers are going to beat them.
Yes,
and obviously the Yankees would beat the Rays in the ALCS.
Yes, my World Series prediction, I predicted the Dodgers to win it before the season, and why change? They look every bit like a World Series type team. I'm going with the Dodgers. Now, who they play against in the American League is a tough one. I would like to see Tampa Bay, because Tampa Bay is a pretty fun and exciting team. And that's actually what I'm going to end up going with. I'm going to go with Tampa. Yeah, give me Tampa and LA, but LA wins, and I'm going to say about 5-6.
Although I am going to flip my pick, and I'm going to go with the Atlanta Braves winning the World Series this year. I understand that the Dodgers have all this talent. Problem is that they have to go through the Padres, and I can see there's going to be an upset. There's going to be an upset somewhere along, and like a really unexpected upset. And I think it's going to be the Dodgers that get bounced. I really do. Sheehan's kind of swayed me into this Reds-Braves upset a little bit. But because they do have the best player in baseball, I can only, suspect that they are going to run through the NL. The Padres upset the Dodgers. They will take care of the Dodgers for the Braves, and then the Braves will go ahead, take down the Padres, and in the World Series.
You're right. Freddie Freeman is the best player in baseball right now. Freddie Freeman, Marcell Ozuna, Dansby Swanson right now. And then there's some outfielder named Ronald Acuna who gets picked off a second. Doesn't like it when he gets unintentionally hit by pitches. But yeah, Freddie Freeman, the best player.
You want a fun stat? You guys throwing out with Mike Trout with his WAR. You know who had a higher WAR between Mike Trout and Ronald Acuna this year?
Ronald Acuna. Mike Trout mailed it in this year on defense. That's the reason that.
I think he saw downhill. He saw the talent. He saw where the Angels were heading. He's like, I'm not even going to waste it. I'm not even going to waste my time here. The Angels are shit. I get an all-star third baseman, and I still can't.
Just remember that Sebastian said it during the summer of 2020. When you look down 5 years down the line, and Mike Trout just starts purely DHing, hitting 265 with 28 jacks. Shit, you know what? Sebastian did tell me. Summer 2020.
That's not going to happen for another, 7 years, maybe. And Mike Trout's going to move to left field, more likely in the DH, because
he might take over for Pujols at first base, dude. Like every other superstar that has a hot start to their career, man.
I wouldn't doubt it, man. He's looking brolic this year.
Yep.
Yeah. I think he doesn't care anymore. I think he just looked at it as
it didn't look like he cared much this year. He's just like, I'm going to try to hit bombs, and if they hit it at me, I'll catch it. If it's anywhere away from me, I'll
dropping, bro. Like he was hitting some fucking piss rods out there this year.
He was. Well, he's got dad strength now. It's not even fair.
Yeah, he did bet. It's not like he had a horrible year. Ended up batting 281.
He had a career year for every other player on earth.
Yeah. Yeah, for everyone on Earth, yeah, for most players, this is a year that they will gladly take.
Yeah, this is like contract year.
Yeah, for him, it's a down year. It really kind of is.
Yeah. All right, guys, let's wrap it up. We've been on here for a little bit. No final thoughts. We already got them in. Let's go Marlins. Upset Tuesday. Upset week, man. It's upset week. Let's take down the Cubs.
Let's go Marlins. Flip that M.
Yeah. See you next week, guys.
Juntos Miami. Let's go.